All right, future shred lords, let's get into this. Essentially, if you're looking for just raw practice value in terms of like the technical abilities, I would recommend Frank Gambale's ChopsBuilder. Okay, there's exercises in there with respect to thirds, fourths, fifths, and sixths that'll just turn your hair white. They're savage, they're very difficult, and they're very fast. You can probably watch it for free on YouTube. You can probably easily find the tabs all over the place. So I'll leave it up to you to sort of like, if that's what, you know, you're looking more of, then you don't need my lesson here. You need to go there and start to hit that. But trust me, you're going to be in for a bit of a, rough ride the first couple weeks if you're not really up to speed on the technical stuff, because it's pretty savage. And I want this sort of channel to be more about the sort of musical integration of these ideas more so than just little practice exercises. We have those, but I usually do things what we call etudes. Okay, well, that's where I basically create a small musical background so I can practice this idea, the idea of intervals, right? So the first thing I want to do is choose a parent key. In this case, I was like, why not do E major? I'm like, mint, but I'm like, this E major chord, boring. So let's change it to E major 7 in the open position. And add that B as the note that rings out, which is nice, right? And then, of course, what I want to do is now sort of factor in this little scale, this scale piece, if you will. This guy. Again, that's basically F sharp Dorian pentatonic. You can also look at it as the E major here, 3 notes per string. I'm basically diving into that pentatonic sequence there, so I like to think of it as the pentatonic sequence where I'm just filling in those minor third steps there. This with the modal notes, right? Right, so that's where that came from. Starting off with the E major 7. Then I jump into the scale fragment, in this case F sharp Dorian pentatonic. Or you could say E major too, it's up to you. From there, I want to sort of, again, relieve the rest of the tension of this original tension here by moving up to this E type chord in the C style, right? From caged. It's still E major, right? That's E major. If I went up here, that's E major. If I move up here again, E major, right? Moving up again, E major, moving up again, E major, moving up again, E major, all the caged chords, right? In this case, I'm starting on the E, which leads to the D, which leads to the C, caged. Then it's A from the cage, then it's G, right? And then it's E, and then I'd be up here at D again, and then I'd be up here at the C again. Okay, nails it. So that's a great sort of way for me to finish resolving the tension of this original chord. I'm sort of leaving it open-ended there, right? With this scale fragment, it creates a point of interest, but that's required to basically finish it. And then I, of course, return back down to this open root again. Now, just climbing up there is really the exercise, and then name those intervals. That's a minor third, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, and then that's the second, right? So that's the exercise, right? Not only recognizing where that's from, this C type chord, would you like? Oops. That's a very tricky little technique that comes from Mateus Asado, so I would highly recommend you practice that a lot because it's incredibly useful for hand-eye coordination, dexterity, hand strength, the whole 9 yards. It's really, really killer, okay? So it's one of my favorites. I'm just going to go down in this first inversion major arpeggio. I'm just taking that essentially that chord I just did and just turn them into an arpeggio now instead of this chord, right? Now I'm doing the arpeggio. That's it. All I did was just convert from one to the other. Again, great way of seeing the exact same information, but again, double up on how it can be presented. Nobody's expecting to essentially be the same thing as... But of course it is, right? So you just did literally the same thing 3 times, but got 3 different results, right? You got this tension first, then you got the scale, same thing, then into the chord, and then into the arpeggio. Now, of course, in the arpeggio, I don't actually go all the way down. Because what I want to do is obviously break it up. You never want to do anything. I sort of do this little move. And then again. But instead of going all the way down like that and just copying the exact same thing, what I do is I like to basically break it up into a little scale so I can then set up the next part of the interval exercises, which is just descending diatonically using sixths, which is a great tool, right? So in this case, the arpeggio. Then yeah, I changed it around a little bit there. There's a little bit of a interval scale. See that? That's me using thirds again, right? So again, another ChopsBuilder situation there, but for sure, you can see how instead of just doing a scale, you can now factor in one of those interval scales, and again, sounds killer, right? So again, one more time. Now I'm using my ear to be like, I do not know what those are, what scale degrees or anything. I just know that this one goes to that one, goes to that one, because I've done that so many times. My ears like, just do that and you're good to go. And you got to trust your intuition when it comes to stuff like that, because trust me, your brain can think a million times faster than you can actually consciously do it. So you have to, you know, believe in the force, if you want to use that metaphor, if you will. But there it is. Okay, incredibly important, that basic idea there, right? So again, what's the next one down? Whole step down, another whole step. Ending it off again in the roots. Now I'm going to take this triad and move it up here in the next position, because that's the C sharp minor there, minor pentatonic. So I got this. Mint, it's the same one there. Here. Which gives me a whole new opportunity to now explore how to use intervals in this particular position, the minor pentatonic, obviously a big one, and this is, we're going to be Hendrixing it up here. I've done this in other lessons, of course, and I'm just recycling some of this information, because again, just running through this gets you more and more comfortable, and then eventually you just start branching out into other ones, because you're like, okay, I'm done using that right now, I want to do something else, and you start messing around with other ones, but it comes way faster because you're already super confident and understand this methodology very, very well. That's why sticking with the tried and true, sort of like in the home base area, and sort of making that work is a great tool to sort of like build up the confidence to really tackle the much more challenging sort of aspects of music, right? So again, I'm just doing like this major arpeggio here, but again, it's a series of intervals. There's the third, fourth, fifth, then I'm going to jump up. There's another third, there's a fourth, I should say, and then a fourth, a fifth, a fourth there again, right? So all sort of like learning to recognize each one of these and see where they are in each position in terms of like some of the more simple ones, right? A major scale, a minor scale here. You see that now, but you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. And then you got this, because look, there's that E-type chord right there. There's the G-type, which is the one we're drawing from. Right there, another major triad, finished. Why not? feel me right. And then what I'm going to do is a series of triads descending now from this major position to, again, reinforce the idea of ear trading, but also start to really, really hammer home these diatonic movements, right? So I'm starting in the first position here. That's major, right? Moving down. Diminished. Nails it. The next one's going to be minor. Into major. Into another major. And look into a minor again. Now, if I were to look at those again, and essentially, of course, I'm sort of like playing the notes of the major scale out of sequence there. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? This is essentially not the root, but it is in this particular inversion, right? Moving down. And again, you're trying to hear each one of those steps resolve. Now, in this case, I don't keep going down. Instead, I swap over to this new methodology where I'm going to play this drop chord as a sus2 chord in the third position. Phrygian. Listen to that. Come on. Which gives me the opportunity again to recycle that F sharp Dorian pentatonic. Second position. With that nice suspended sound, and then finally resolving into the major again. Okay, so the top part here, after I get done this little arpeggio section, reestablish home base here at the, yes, Aeolian position. That's me moving into Ionian there, right? Why not add that little bad boy in? Then you can jump into the diminish, minor, extension notes there. Right, those all come from, again, the diatonic scale. This one's going to be... Then into the third degree. Suspended into the F sharp Dorian position pentatonic. Ending in the second degree with this minor. And then finally resolving to a cadence, fourth degree, up again to diminish, seventh degree, and to the octave. And finally I ended up with this nice little flurry where I do this sort of more traditional counterpoint. You can go so on and so forth, right? So you're starting to get the idea there that can then carry on and you can just keep going, doing more and more different techniques and stuff. But I don't want to get into the more advanced ones right now because this is going to give you the wrong impression. The first step in mastering intervals is being a master of identifying the intervals. And the best way to do that is to start to hear them in like really musically pleasing contexts. So you're like, that's the jam right there, because then you'll just be more likely to sort of sit there and play and marinate. But the secondary step is going to be, of course, is start to recognize what these are, right? When you're doing this one, there's the open, there's the root, there's a minor third, the fourth, there's the fifth, right? Again, third, fourth, naming them all right here. This is, and even if you can't see them, right, that's going to be a minor third, major third, perfect fourth, fifth. Now which one's this? That's a major second, right? When you get more interesting, you can start using those seconds in terms of a major scale and ascending and descending, which can have a very, very cool effect. But again, starting with just sort of like the lower pieces of information is going to ensure success. Getting too far into the weeds too early means failure because you're just going to get lost. let's quickly recap here, just quietly, so to speak. I'll just give the highlights. The whole entire thing in one shot again. Let's see if I can actually do it here. So it's going to start with the Z major 7 in the open position, right? Into the scale fragment. There's my little first Matthias Sato idea, getting into the arpeggio here, same idea. Descending diatonically in sixths. Trying to play the low E there. I want to play the B. And again, I'm just recycling this chord and I'm establishing it up here. You can see just the slightest bending of the strings there in that position can really send it out of tune, right? And then you're going to be like, okay, I can slide this up. Why not grab this one? Sure. Right. Then I can come down again. And then why not come down? Diminished in the minor, in the major. Oh, look, might as well jump into this third degree suspended sound. Jump up into this F sharp minor Dorian pentatonic. Second position to the open. Moving to the fourth here, instead of playing this one, and then moving to the second degree, minor, to the fourth degree, instead of playing this whole bar chord, I'm just playing this section of the bar chord with all the open strings. I took this to this. Same here. Instead of playing this, I can play just this. And again, 5, 6, 7, and 1. In this case, I'm going 1. Then I'm going to move to 4, right? Which is going to give me this. This is going to give me 7. Diminished, again, give me the movement I need to get to the high one, right? And then, of course, that's a classic Bach or Yngwie thing, and again, you're just basically using a pedal tone and countless other things like that. But again, don't get bogged down in the weeds. You could sit there and just be like, okay, that's the first part, and learn it by ear. Do not look for tabs. I'm alternating between this one. Oh, that's going up, going down. Okay, that's a great way. So again, another way you can sort of minimize the spread of all the information you need to use and just get right to the meat and potatoes of this idea of intervals, right? So start off with the basic stuff, recognizing them, knowing where they are, and putting them together into some sort of musical context. Just practicing a bunch of interval stuff, like, you know, ascending. It's okay, but I mean, obviously you're missing out on a huge portion of what the actual lesson is, and this is why it's killing your gains, okay? Instead, sort of be like, okay, start with something here. Maybe we want to start right away with an arpeggio, right? So up here, nice. Starting with a series of thirds. Yeah, this guy in. Here we go down. slightly different variation, but basically accomplishes the same goal. You actually work all of the exercises, all of the necessary skills, all of the necessary ideas at the same time, not in individual little sort of like clinically separated sessions, which is why when you go to put the two things together, you don't actually get anywhere with it, right? You're going to be like, That's why my lick comes out sounding as one big sort of thing with the sweep and then a bit of a, you know, the interval scale there, and then getting into some scale fragments and stuff like that. Again, that's one compartmentalized idea where I can use 3 different techniques to accomplish one direct goal, create a musical sentence that says something to the audience that doesn't sound like just random notes or something like that. So before you go charging off down the garden path about intervals and all of this extra stuff, instead try to dial back your expectation. Instead be like, I really need to dive into the sound of these things and start learning how they mean and what they mean to me, like in various positions. If you have to start with just the major system, that's fine. Start right there, right? You just be like, okay, there's a great sequence. Okay, so you might come up with one that's slightly different or whatever else it is, but that's the most important thing. And of course, I'm going to say this: experiment, making 100 million mistakes, and just going off the rails on the instrument all over the place in private when you're practicing is a huge part of actually learning what not to do. Essentially, you learn what to do and what not to do, but that trial and error process cannot be eliminated. I know nobody wants to go through it because it's just like, I just want the right answer right away. Doesn't work like that. You got to kind of, because you're going to make beautiful accidents too and be like, okay, wow, okay, that's opening up some doors. I'll tuck that away for later. But more importantly, there's something about that process that cannot be replicated in terms of watching a video or reading an article or something else. Instead, you just got to jump in with both feet, start to investigate these things and understand that, you know, like with respect to fourths and fifths and sixths, they basically have to be coupled up with thirds for it to really make sense. Thirds work well all over the place, but as soon as you start doing sixths all over the place, you're like, it's a serious problem. And doing arpeggios is an exact sort of like a microcosm of that idea. It's a fifth to a sixth, another sixth, another fifth, a sixth like that, right? And again, I can sort of like come down. There's that other one, right? We did it before. Whoops, I made a small mistake there, but you get the idea, right? That's essentially using those 2 ideas of intervals against 2 sort of separate things. One's where I'm using each position of the arpeggio to ascend using various intervals, and the other one is just moving through each step using the various intervals. This thirds, fourth, sixth, now it's fifth. I want to use this shape of the arpeggio to do a fifth and a sixth, then a sixth, fifth, sixth, and another sixth. So I'm basically now fleshing out the entire arpeggio itself. Before I was just going stuff like that. Slightly different, right? So that's where the importance of starting to experiment with these arpeggio ideas and intervals and everything else really starts to pay off. If you do anything in a vacuum, you'll get exactly that, a vacuum. Right. I think that's enough for today. We'll leave it at that. Good luck. Remember, just work away slowly at it and you'll get there eventually. And instead of trying to consume all of this information in one shot, instead just dial it down, pick a small part of it and attack that first and then build out from there. Hope this helps. Keep firing up the questions. We'll keep answering them as best we can. And there'll be more lessons on intervals. Don't worry. More of everything. See you in the next one.